Okay, we're going to start off with one-step equations. In general, when solving equations, you do the opposite operation. I spell operation. I'm having a brain fart. Operation. Is that right? Two P's? I don't know. All right. And another thing is you want to isolate the variable. And remember, the variable is just a fancy way of saying the letter. Okay, so we'd want to isolate the variable. So the opposite of multiplication is going to be division, and vice versa. And the opposite of addition is subtraction, and vice versa. Okay, so you're only thinking about the operation. So if we start up for example 1, we find the variable. So here's the variable. So that is 3 times x. The opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. My 3's would cancel out, drop down your x. Negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. That is my solution. Okay? Then I would like you to check step. This is another quiz, another test, another unit really, where you should be able to check every single answer. So I take the original equation, and I'm going to substitute in my value of negative 4, excuse me. So my x supposedly is negative 4. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Does negative 12 always equal negative 12? Yes. So it checks out. Here's the next one. So I find my variable. Now, some of y'all, I know you do not like to see the variable on the right. So if you want to go ahead and make this x minus 4 equal 7, that's fine. Remember, the symmetric property allows us to do that. But really, it's kind of an unnecessary step. So, but if you just go back to the original, here's my x. I'm left with a minus 4. The opposite of subtracting 4 is adding 4. Those cancel. 7 plus 4 equals 11. So x equals 11. And I'm just going to go ahead and flip them, once again, using that symmetric property. That is my final answer. To use my check step, I take the original, and I plug in that x is supposedly 11. So 11 minus 4 is 7. Does 7 always equal 7? Yes. All right, so we've got 16 plus x. So here's our variable. Our variable is x, so we're left with just straight up 16. The opposite of a positive 16 is a negative 16. Cross them out, drop down your x. Negative 2 minus 16 is a negative 18. And then you can check it out. All right, this is x divided by negative 6. Remember, fractions are just division. So x divided by negative 6. The opposite of dividing by negative 6 is multiplying by negative 6. So I need to do it on both sides. Those would cancel. I bring down my x. A negative and a negative is a positive. 3 times 6 is 18. Let's step it out. This is my original. Oops, not 16. Okay, I'm going to plug in that x is supposedly 18. 18 divided by negative 6 is negative 3. So negative 3 always equals negative 3. And that works out, remember, because that's the reflective property. All right, so we also could have just straight up fractions. If you have a negative outside, I always put it on top. So I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite this as negative 2 over 5, and then x equals 4. I just like to put the negative on the top, just kind of get it over with. So this is negative 2/5 times x. So we need to divide by negative 2/5. And the same thing as dividing by a fraction is just taking its reciprocal. So I'm going to take the reciprocal on both sides, which just means I flip-flop my fraction. Okay, those are going to cancel. Drop down my x. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 divided by negative 2 is negative 10. Now, if you grab your calculator really quickly, just to make sure, I would put this in my calculator just to check myself. So that's 4 times 5 negative halves. So 4 times 5 divided by negative 2, parentheses, and sure enough, I got negative 10. So same thing. Okay, so that's it for 1 steps.